Hi, my name's Zephyr Wildman. Just want to let you know that I finished recording and uploading last week's practice on the Granthis onto my website, zephyryoga.com. I wanted to give you a little taste of what we are going to be working with. So Granthis are physical, energetic, psycho-emotional knots, holding patterns that we experience in the first three koshas. Annamaya kosha, which is the physical sheath, Pranamaya kosha, which is the energetic sheath, and Manamaya kosha, which is the mental sheath. Now in these sheaths, we get a little bit stuck and sticky. They're all interrelated. And using certain techniques in yoga that we can actually work with creating clarity in these sheaths so we can rest in the wisdom body, the Vijnanamaya kosha, and eventually melt into and dissolve into the Anandamaya kosha, the bliss sheath, which is beyond our experience of the limited self. So just a little insight into what we're going to be practicing with. So Brahma Granthi is the first one. Brahma, the creator, covers the lower three chakras. So we usually get all knotted up in our pelvis, our lower belly, our guts, in ways in which are very kind of common, mirroring the chakra system. So the physical, energetic, and mental, emotional holding patterns being of a lack of feeling secure, feeling safe in yourself and your environment around you, issues around fear, not feeling physically healthy or stable enough, and also issues around pleasure, issues around desire, and the lack of or the extreme emotion and sexual connection to either feeling overactive or completely dormant. And so starting to unravel those knots, and those knots then unravel issues around how we identify ourselves, our self-esteem issues, our egotism of thinking more or less of who we are. So around this area, what we're going to be working with is asana is great. It's great for creating strength, stability, but also this opening and revealing of certain holding patterns and stuff that comes up in practice. So we'll work with kriyas, certain cleansing, purification practices, pranayama, of course, breathing techniques, but also mudras, creating seals to really work with Uddiyana Mula Bandha, and then that mudra of sealing in this light of prana, and prana being that creative force of feminine energy that is filled with intelligence, that heals, that inspires, that clears, and creates an experience of this light that can penetrate all of the sheaths and help us heal and release and expand, so we can actually dissolve and feel more safe, more secure, that we have the right to be here, that we can take up space, that we have this creative flow of energy that is inspiring, that we have a sense of self and that drive to move us forward in our life to fulfill what we're meant to be doing and feel that we can attain and manifest our soul's calling. Then we'll work with Vishnu Granthi, Vishnu being the sustainer and the preserver of life, our relationships. And we start to see that this knot starts to bind over the upper two chakras around this area. And our issues being one of, a lack of sense of self, a lack of, issues around boundaries, our capacity to receive love and offer it. And so as we notice this knot that creates a distortion of our voice, our inability to speak our truth, we start to see that we cover up with little lies because of our own pain, our unmet needs, our vulnerability, our suffering, our grudges, our resentments, our anger. It just gets all tied up here. So we're going to use a lot of asana, pranayama, kriya practices, and then chanting. Chanting's really good at helping dissolve. So AUM Kriya we're going to be using, and that real connecting with that releasing pattern of sound to dissolve the knots so we can feel that authentic self, that loving, kind root of self, that we abide in the heart as the self. And from that place of expanding, we can create that clear resonance, that expression of self, that we can tap into loving, finding forgiveness of self, healing, that we can have empathetic and compassionate boundaries to have healthier relationships to others, and to feel that we can clearly express ourselves with this quality of loving kindness and tenderness. So the last one is Rudra Granthi, which is an aspect of Shiva, that destroyer. Rudra means roar, and we're going to do a lot of roaring. But how we get knotted up in this area is that there's a kind of a stained glass window that creates all these colors and distorts the information that we receive and the perception that we see out. So we have a misapprehension of the reality of life. Things seem really real. Our thoughts, our feelings, situations seem really real from our opinion and our belief system, that's caught up into this distortion. But as we create clarity by using contemplation practices, critical thinking, working with pranadharana of concentrating our attention on point-to-point breathing, and seeing, feeling whatever is surfacing up from this practice of revealing what we're unconsciously and consciously holding in our body. We start to see, like, going, wow, that is really painful. Why are we still holding on to this? How can I use these techniques to find acceptance of this? How can I use these techniques to then empower myself to make better decisions around whatever is going on in my life, so I can actually forgive myself, nurture myself, and to create this letting go, expanding, and dissolving of that, so I can move on and actually see a better future for myself, create a better optimistic future, have visions, and see the reality of what it's like to be embodied, and to best choose choices to lead me back down paths that are actually in line with what my heart longs for, what my soul is calling me to do. And so that inner truth, that inner seeking. So this whole practice of working with the Granthis is very tantric, using different tools in practice of asana practice. And I'm offering physical practices that are longer, shorter, and a meditation practice working with kriyas, mudras, and pranayama techniques to help shift some of this out, to really connect to what brings us joy, what really matters to us, what inspires us, and connect to what is beyond that limited self. As we rest in that bliss sheath, or that state that is beyond, that only you can really experience. Words can point to it and describe it, but they can't do it justice. So when you practice and enter that, it creates a connection to this resource of energy that will help you move you forward during times of challenge, and make better choices for you to be more creative, to be inspired, but also to heal and continue to heal, because we're human. We get clogged up really easily. It's the human condition. We just have to keep showing up and practicing, addressing what we're holding physically, energetically, and mentally, and seeing that these knots are actually of service to us. They teach us a greater sense of awareness, a self-understanding, and acceptance that we're human, but we have the opportunity through disciplined practice to become more self-actualized, to transcend old patterns of old ways of relating, and to create transformation of these old patterns and find new ways of living, new ways of relating, and new ways of really living, loving, breathing, moving with more meaning and purpose in our life. So I hope these practices serve to inspire, heal, and wake you up to the gift and the joy of being embodied. I hope you enjoy practice. See you on the mat. Thanks, you guys.